Part 2, Coming Home. In Book 13, Odysseus, laden with gifts, is returned in secret to Ithaca in one of the magically swift Phoenician ships. In Ithaca, Athena appears to the hero. Because his home is full of enemies, she advises him to proceed disguised as a beggar. This new hero of the post-war age must succeed not only by physical power, but also by intelligence. In Book 14, Odysseus, in this beggar's disguise, finds his way to the hut of his old and trusty swineherd, Eumaeus. Eumaeus is the very image of faithfulness in a servant, a quality much admired by Homer's society. The introduction of members of the so-called servant class as important actors is usually in epic poetry, and it indicates Homer's originality. Odysseus is politely entertained by Eumaeus, but the king remains disguised from his old servant. In Book 15, Athena appears to Odysseus' son, Telemachus. The young man has gone to Pylos in Sparta to talk to old comrades of his father's to try to discover if Odysseus is alive or dead. Athena advises him to return to Ithaca. His home, the palace of Odysseus, is overrun with his mother's suitors. These arrogant men have taken over Odysseus' house. They are partying with money from the son's inheritance and are demanding that his mother Penelope take one of them as a husband. Athena warns Telemachus that the suitors plan to ambush him. Telemachus boards a ship for home, lands secretly on Ithaca, and heads towards the cottage of the swineherd. As father and son move closer and closer together, the suspense becomes great. Now Homer is ready for what could be the most dramatic moment in the epic. Remember that Odysseus has not seen his son for 20 years. Telemachus has been away from Ithaca for a year. The meeting of father and son. But there were two men in the mountain hut, Odysseus and the swineherd. At first light, blowing their fire up, they cooked their breakfast and sent their lads out, driving herds to root in the tall timber. When Telemachus came, the wolfish troop of watchdogs only fawned on him as he advanced. Odysseus heard them go and heard the light crunch of a man's footfall, at which he turned quickly to say, Eumaeus, here's one of your crew come back, or maybe another friend. The dogs are out there snuffling belly down. Not one has even growled. I can hear footsteps. But before he finished, his tall son stood at the door. The swineherd rose in surprise, letting a bowl and jug tumble from his fingers. Going forward, he kissed the young man's head, his shining eyes, and both hands, while his own tears brimmed and fell. Think of a man whose dear and only son, born to him in exile, reared with labor, has lived 10 years abroad and now returns. How would that man embrace his son? Just so the herdsman clapped his arms around Telemachus and covered him with kisses, for he knew the lad had got away from death. Light of my days, Telemachus, you made it back. When you took ship to Pylos, I never thought to see you here again. Come in, dear child, and let me feast my eyes. Here you are, home from the distant places. How rarely away you visit us, your own men and your own woods and pastures, always in the town. A man would think you loved the suitors' company, those dogs. Telemachus, with his clear candor, said, I am with you, uncle. See, now I have come because I wanted to see you first, to hear from you if mother stayed at home, or is she married off to someone and Odysseus' bed left empty for some gloom spider's weaving. Gently the forester replied to this, At home indeed your mother is, poor lady, still in the women's hall. Her night and days are wearied out with grieving. Stepping back, he took the bronze-shod lance, and the young prince entered the cabin over the worn doorstone. Odysseus moved aside, yielding his couch, but from across the room Telemachus checked him. Friend, sit down. We'll find another chair in our own hut. Here is the man to make one. The swineherd, when the quiet man sank down, built a new pile of evergreens and fleeces, a couch for the dear son of great Odysseus, then gave them trenchers of good meat, left over from the roast pork of yesterday, and heaped up willow baskets full of bread and mixed an ivy bowl of honey-hearted wine. Then he in turn sat down, facing Odysseus. Their hands went out upon the meat and drink as they fell to, ridding themselves of hunger.
Why didn't the swine first?
Not realizing that the stranger is his father, Telemachus agrees to protect him as best he can. But he says that the beggar cannot stay in the palace and hall because he will be abused by the drunken suitors. The swineherd is sent to Penelope with news of her son's return. Now even Athena cannot stand the suspense any longer. She turns to Odysseus, who is still in a beggar's rags. She tipped her golden wand upon the man, making his cloak pure white and the knit tunic fresh around him. Lithe and young she made him, ruddy with sun, his jawline clear, the beard no longer gray upon his chin, and she withdrew when she had done. Then Lord Odysseus reappeared, and his son was thunderstruck. Fear in his eyes, he looked down and away as though it were a god, and whispered, "Stranger, you are no longer what you were just now. Your cloak is new, even your skin. You are one of the gods who rule the sweep of heaven. Be kind to us, we'll make you fair oblation, and gifts of hammered gold. Have mercy on us." The noble and enduring man replied, "No god, why take me for a god? No, no, I am that father whom your boyhood lacked and suffered pain for lack of. I am he." Held back too long, the tears ran down his cheeks as he embraced his son. Only Telemachus, uncomprehending, wild with incredulity, cried out, "You cannot be my father Odysseus. Meddling spirits conceived this trick to twist the knife in me. No man of woman born could work these wonders by his own craft, unless a god came into it with ease to turn him young or old at will. I swear you were in rags and old, and here you stand like one of the immortals." Odysseus brought his ranging mind to bear and said, "This is not princely, to be swept away by wonder at your father's presence. No other Odysseus will ever come, for he and I are one, the same. His bitter fortune and his wanderings are mine. 20 years gone, and I am back again on my own island." Then, throwing his arms around this marvel of a father, Telemachus began to weep. Salt tears rose from the wells of longing in both men, and cries burst from both as keen and fluttering as those of the great taloned hawk, whose nestlings farmers take before they fly. So helplessly they cried, pouring out tears, and might have gone on weeping so till sundown. From Book 16.